Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, we got it figured out. Let us know if you're still having problems hearing us. But this is Shot Science Overtime number 150. We're going to go through it again. But we want you guys to know that this is not our regular kind of Shot Science video. This is a live show where we're going to help you guys answer all your questions on anything basketball. Shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, conditioning, athleticism, whatever it is. Hit us with your questions so that we can try to help you guys out. While we are talking about this topic up top that we think is going to help you guys become better players or take you to the next level, send those questions to us. And while you're at it, maybe follow us on some of our social media stuff, like on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or Instagram or Snapchat, where we are Shot Science on everything. Not Snapchat. We are Shot Science on everything. And that would be great because we do different things on all of those different places. And that's a great way to be able to talk to us when we're not doing these live shows. Anyways, our topic for today is how to not be scared to shoot. And we get lots of questions from people every day asking how do they get over this fear of shooting, this fear of failure. So we're here to talk to you guys about that. What do you think?
Well, to get back to one of the things that we were going to talk about a moment ago is the fact that, I recently came across a kind of a saying by John Wooden, and essentially what it said was this, is that a lack of confidence is due to a lack of preparation. And that was his feeling that when you didn't prepare properly, then you were afraid to really try to shoot the basketball because you were afraid that you were going to not be successful or fear of failure. And so one of the things that this is a question that we deal with almost every day of the week with people writing in. I'm a pretty good shooter, but I'm afraid to shoot when I get in the game. Had a student this morning who we had this discussion too, and he was saying, I asked him, how many shots did you take over the weekend? He played 4 basketball games. And he said, well, Coach, I only took about 10 shots in 4 games, and he plays most all the time. And I said, well, why? And he got this kind of funny little grin on his face, and the upshot of it was, well, I didn't know if I could make him or not. Well, he's really a very capable shooter, and he doesn't know that yet in his own mind because he is afraid to take a chance for fear that he will not make it and he will be thought less of by the other players, the coach, whomever.
Yeah,
and so we kind of struggle with that fear of failure when we are playing basketball. We have that same thing that happens in shooting, but it also happens in other areas of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's with anything in life or sports or whatever, if there's no risk, there's no reward.
Well, true.
And so if you don't put yourself out there, then you're never going to succeed. I mean, if Michael Jordan never took the big shot or any shot, then he wouldn't be Michael Jordan.
Right.
And the same thing with Steph Curry. Do you think that Steph Curry is concerned about missing a shot before he takes it?
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
He knows that he's going to make it. And if he doesn't, that's okay. Next shot, he's going to not worry about the last shot or the one before it. He's living in the moment, and he knows that he has to take that shot for there to be any kind of reward.
Because he has prepared for that moment.
Yeah, so what happens is that people focus on the wrong things when it comes down to their shooting mentality, and they're focused on the miss. And if you're focused on the miss, then you're A, probably not going to take the shot, and B, if you do take the shot, you're probably going to miss it because you've already, psyched yourself out of it.
Exactly right.
And then there's the other element of it where you have to prepare to perform.
Yep.
And if you have not put in enough work to have your shot be where you are confident it's going to go in, then you're not going to have confidence in taking the shot. Right? So, I mean, you have to work on your skills, whether it be ball handling or shooting or defense or whatever it is, so that it's going to be there when you step into a game.
Yeah.
Because if you just hope that it's going to be there, it's not going to be there.
Well, and you take a look at Klay Thompson in the game that they played the other night against Oklahoma City. Do you think he was afraid to shoot? He had all the heart in the world. He was going to put that ball up and take the results no matter what happened. Well, fortunately, they were really good results. But why can he do that? Why can Durant shoot like he can shoot, or Westbrook or the other great shooters? They can shoot because they have tested themselves. They have put effort into preparation. And one of the things that Casey and I talk about all the time is that preparation for shooting really has an awful lot to do, not just with learning the mechanics of how to shoot, but then getting into a situation where you have to play at game speed.
Yep.
Can you imagine that if you're playing an NBA game and the pace of the game is just outrageous because it's so fast and so physical and all of that, and here you have a guy who just like got ice water in his veins and he's draining shots, and there were 4 or 5 of those guys, some on Oklahoma and some on the Warrior team, and they had no fear of shooting. Because
Well, that's because they've
prepared.
Yeah, and they've set those circumstances and performed them a million times,
Yeah.
mostly with people not there watching.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's that stage that they step onto to have those games. I mean, that's just a fraction of the time that they have actually spent playing at that level of intensity with that level of kind of coverage. They are spending that time in the gym for, probably most of their lives, playing game intensity, game speed, working on their skills at those speeds. And, when we talk about developing skills, we always talk about the 3 pillars of practice. And I don't think we've gotten into it really that deeply in the last few shows that we've done. But let's run through them really quick. And these are kind of the approach that those great players and this is how we teach our students how to practice. But there are these 3 pillars that you have to hit because they address all the different areas of how to keep advancing your skills and your skill.
And that's all skills. It's not
skill
just
output.
shooting, but all skills.
Yeah, shooting, ball handling, defense, rebounding, all of these things can be, massaged with the 3 pillars of practice. So the 3 pillars are, number 1 is kind of your dialing in very purposeful work where you are really working on just getting the mechanics where they need to be. So in terms of shooting, that would be something like the form shooting drill, where you don't have these other influences and variables kind of bearing down on you. There's no defense. We're not rushing things. We're not going at the game intensity or speed. You're just working on getting your form from your feet to your follow through to be really just efficient and clicking and consistent.
Right.
And we usually say use the form shooting drill for that. And that means that you're working in real close and progressing back. And, it's going to help you increase your range and all that stuff. You're going to get the feel of everything. Muscle memory is going to be developed. All of that's going to happen in that first pillar. And that is where you are just diligently working that mechanic over and over and over and over again. Yep. The second pillar is game speed, game intensity work. And that's where you are taking all of those skills that you were working on there in the first pillar, and you're applying them to how you would see them in a game. So what you're going to add in the defense. You're going to do it at the speed of a game. You're going to do it at the intensity of a game. You're going to work on catch and shoot. You're going to work on off the dribble shooting. You're going to go through a whole litany of drills that really set the stage for what it's like when you step into a game, because you need to create those conditions to be able to perform in those conditions.
Okay, now let me just throw this in real quick. That is preparation.
Yeah.
That is what we're telling you that is really important. That's what John Wooden was saying in that little quote too. Preparation is what takes the fear away from shooting a basketball.
Yeah, and so then the third pillar, we are taking everything that we learned and worked on in the first 2 pillars, and we are applying it to game experience. Right. So that means that we're getting out there when we are actually playing actual games, whether they're pickup, school games, AAU games, whatever they may be, traveling team games, and we are executing those skills in an actual game setting. Right. And the more experience you get doing that, the more it's going to be second nature. And when you step into a big game, like let's say, a championship game
tonight,
you will be able to perform at that level, and you'll be able to not only shoot under the intensity and speed of the game, but you'll also be able to perform in the fourth quarter when you're tired and fatigued, and you've actually prepared for that by doing all those things in the first 2 pillars. And it will just keep that stuff so that it's like you've been there before.
Yeah, you've been there. Yeah.
Because if you step out there and you've never been there, I mean that's where your confidence is really going to take a bomb. Right. That's probably where your conditioning is going to take a real bomb. So you want to practice for those conditions that you're going to see in the game.
Yeah, and players, and if you probably ask them and get them give you real responses, the real response is they're afraid that they're not only that they're going to miss, but they'll fear that they'll have to be pulled out of the game because they can't perform. And so this whole thing, like Wooden was saying, is all about preparation. Preparation takes the fear away from shooting or any element of the game.
Yeah, so
but mostly shooting.
So to kind of sum up what we're talking about here is that if you are scared to shoot the ball, it is likely because you have not put in enough practice.
Exactly.
And that practice that you have put in is maybe not to where it needs to be to feel confident in your shooting.
Right.
You have to practice all 3 pillars to be able to feel like you have that stuff ready to go when you step out on the court.
Right. You can go out and shoot 1,000 shots in a day, but if you haven't put them into this format that Casey's talking about, the 3 pillars, then you're probably not going to be successful in a game situation.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're just shooting around, you're shooting lights out. And oftentimes I'll have people, they will tell me, and sometimes I find the statistic a little hard to believe, but I'm shooting 80% from the 3-point line. Well, nobody shoots 80% from the 3-point line.
As soon as you add in a defender, that gets halved at least.
Yeah, it just drops off immediately. And as soon as you add in the element of fatigue, that's something that we don't really think about, is the fact that when we get tired, we become less efficient. And so by building all of that, that makes you much more likely to succeed in shooting the basketball.
I mean, those are game pressures, game variables.
Yeah.
As soon as you add that stuff in, your percentage drops off quickly.
Yeah.
And, so I think that the real takeaway here is that, you can't be the person that goes in there and just shoots 1,000 shots.
Yeah.
What kind of shots are you taking? What is the quality of those shots? What are you doing to get those shots? Are you varying it up? I mean, there's so many things that go into what makes a good practice session, and then there's consistency on top of that. And you really have to have your skills in the right spots and not be scared to take the shot.
Yeah, truly.
Because if you feel confident in your skills, you're going to feel confident in the execution of those skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we think we're good on that?
We're good.
Okay, if you guys have more questions about that, let us know, and we will talk more about that.
Yeah.
But, one of the things I should have said before we started this is that you guys need to send us your questions so that we have enough stuff that we can talk to you guys about. Yeah. So send us your questions about anything basketball related. Also, we're going to ask the Coach Tom question of the day, which is the same one every time we do one of these shows, and that is...
Where are you from?
Yeah,
we want to know where you are and know that, maybe you're liking what we're doing. And that's really cool.
And we'll shout out a few people if you let us know where you're from, like what country you're from. We are here in California, kind of south of San Francisco, and we want to know where you guys are in the world, okay? Let's see here. Alexa Vucic is saying, greetings from Europe. I have a new coach, but I won't make the I don't know what let's see here. I have a new coach next year. We have a set start for preseason here in Europe, but I won't make it to the start of it. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Try that again and get back to us.
Let's see here. Ham Marcus is from Wales in the UK. That's awesome.
Yep.
The Reviews dude is from New York. Joshua Madison is from McKeesport, Pennsylvania. And Basquet Cascavel is from Brazil.
How cool is that?
Okay, the Reviews dude asks how to build speed. What kind of speed are you talking about? Are you talking about getting your shot off? Are you talking about your athleticism speed or your athletic speed? Let us know, and we'll try to get back to you on that one. Let's see here. Mr. Crick Venetia 1 says how to build up confidence. We kind of talked about that.
Yeah. Just go back and listen to the first part of the program, and you'll get that sense of what we think is important in developing confidence.
Confidence is really about getting your skills to be there for you, and you feel confident in your skills. Then you'll be confident in their execution. This one is from Chetwin Brown, who says, how do you get your skills to be above average like Steph Curry? By the way, glad to see you guys back. Thanks. To get your skills above average like Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a freak of nature. I mean, that guy, he's not just above average. No. He is, kind of very much at the top of the spectrum. But to get your skills above average, you have to do all the things that we just talked about.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan when you practice. You have to make your practice count and make it be purposeful. You have to be consistent with it. You have to really put in the work if you want to be kind of an above average player.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. The young fellow that was a student of mine earlier today, his ball skills weren't looking very sharp. And I asked him, I said, how much time are you spending on your ball skills? And he says, well, I work out for about 2.5 hours every day. And I asked him, I said, that's not what I asked you. How much you work in your ball skills? So he got down to it, and he said, well, about 10 minutes. And so my reply to him is 10 minutes on your ball skills a day is not enough. If you're going to be an effective basketball player, you've got to prepare, and preparation can't be done on that in 10 minutes a day. And he said, well, I shoot a lot. Well, and his shot shows it. He's a really a nice stroke, clean, nice arc. It's a beautiful stroke. But if they take that away from you by crowding you, getting into you when you're playing the game, you're going to have another way to go, and the other way to go is to attack them off the dribble. If you don't have the ball skills because you haven't worked on it sufficiently, then you're not going to be successful there either. So there's a whole balance that goes on in developing yourself as a basketball player, and that balance has to do with a whole bunch of things. The major things that it has to do with is how do you handle a basketball, especially when you're under pressure? How do you shoot the ball? How do you shoot the ball when you're under pressure? There are a lot of things like that is really important for you to understand how to do. And so my comment to him was this: okay, if you're spending that little time, you're cheating yourself, because if I watch you play and my team is playing you soon, then what we're going to do is we're going to get right in your grill. We're going to crowd you because we know you can't put the ball on the floor effectively. And so we take you out of the game just because of what you cannot do. Not so much what we do, but what you can't do because you haven't spent any time on it.
Yeah, and that brings up another thing that comes up every time we have one of these shows, and that's people that are asking about how to be like a specialist in shooting or a position or something like that. And we argue that that is the worst thing that you can do for yourself as a developing basketball player, as a young person, because as a basketball player, I know that I am looking for your weaknesses, and I'm going to exploit the crap out of that and take away your strengths. So if you're a shooter and you can't put the ball on the floor, I'm going to take your shooting away. You will not get a shot off. And if you can't put the ball on the floor, you are not going to be an effective player, and you will be taken out of the game.
Well, that coupled with the fact that if I know you have no strong hand, let's say your weak hand is almost non-existent, I'm going to make you play with that the whole game. I'm going to get up into you and shut off the strong hand so you can't go that way, and not easily anyway, and force you to use the other hand. And what's going to happen is you're probably going to turn the ball over. You're not going to be able to complete your attacks. And so you really have to spend time on things besides just shooting the basketball.
Or just any, you don't want to specialize in any one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that we see is that people are like, I want to get more playing time, or I want to make the team. I'm a really great 3-point shooter. It's like, great, but what else can you do? Can you do anything else? Because if you can only shoot threes, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because if you can't do the other things, then in basketball, people will exploit you.
Yeah, and coaches in particular, but players sometimes too, if they're a little smarter. But oftentimes, junior high school players aren't that much into the game. They don't know that much about it. But smart coaches and smart players, they watch you play for a little bit, and okay, I got this. And so they will put you in a situation. We had one player a few years ago that we had to play against that was really a good shooter, but he didn't like to be touched. He was always batting your hand away, and so when we went to play him, we made sure that we had a hand on him all the time. He spent the whole game batting our hand away. And here's a guy who could shoot and make 24 a game, something like that. And he ended up in the first half making 2 points, and they were both free throws and right near the half. And so because we were able to say, okay, this guy doesn't like this, and so we take the rest of it away from him and we do something that really pesters him.
So the takeaway here is don't be a specialist.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Be an all-around player that can do a little bit of everything.
Absolutely true.
And if you can do that, you will be a really good basketball player.
Yeah.
And don't be a position player either. When people come in and they say, I'm a point guard, or I'm a center, or it's like, your coach tells you what you are. You are a basketball player, and you should approach your practice and your development in that fashion. Otherwise, you will find yourself trying out for a team that has 3 point guards ahead of you, and then you won't make the team.
Or you won't. If you do, you won't make it. You won't be
play.
able to play. Yeah.
But if you've worked on all your skills, hey, maybe there's an open spot at the shooting guard, or maybe even one of the forward spots. And then also, if you get out there in a game and you're a point guard that can post up, then you also have a skill that most point guards that are defending you are not going to be able to take advantage of.
Exactly.
And you will be in the advantage. So be an all-around basketball player. That is really key. Cold Frostbite is saying they're from Hampton Bays, New York. That's awesome. Excuse me. The reviews dude says that he was talking about athletic speed. To develop your athletic speed, we suggest doing things like dot drills, jump rope. Let's see here. Ladder drills are really good. There's a whole long list of things that you can do, and most are in that vein. And we suggest you go check out our vertical jump videos where we talk about some of those things in there. Also, another good resource for that is our friends from Pure Sweat Basketball, Alan Stein and Drew Hanlon. They do some really good stuff on that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to come down to like ladder drills and dot drills and things like that. Let's see here. Seven Antoine says, what if you really just can't shoot the ball? You got to work on it.
You do. And you know, I've come across over a few years that I've been doing this, I've come across a very few players who can't learn to shoot the basketball. Occasionally it breaks down into this. I give them homework to do for the shooting, and I know they don't do it. How do I know? When they show up, they haven't changed a bit from the time they were here. And usually our lessons are a week apart. So that gives you a chance to kind of build it up. But, you know, the whole thing of being good at anything is you got to spend time doing it.
Yep. Okay, guys, keep sending us your questions. We want to be able to get through as many as we can. And please tell your friends and family to watch too. That really helps us. Yeah. Let's see here. Cold Frostbite says, what do you think of Stephen Curry's habit of pointing his feet away from his shooting hand? I don't know. That's not really how I would explain it. One of the things that we talk about is this, and that is that you should realize that your shooting hand is not in the middle of your body.
Right.
So we are technically shooting a one-handed shot, which is on one side of our body, and that's typically going to be our strong hand. So we need to have at least a slight kind of, preference for that side or significance for that side. So we turn our body a little bit and we turn our shoulders, and that all, in turn will turn our lower body and our feet a little bit, so that if this is our feet, this is the, my right hand. So that would be like my shooting hand foot. I'm going to turn it a little bit, and we're going to get a little stagger like that. So that this is my weak side foot, or my left foot. Maybe if I do it like this, you guys can see it better. But, it's going to come like this and move out a little bit. And we have a video that kind of talks about that. But you should kind of have a slight stagger, because what that's going to do is going to line up everything in line with the ball and your target. So your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your ankle and foot are all going to be in line with the target, which is extremely important.
Yeah, we teach that we want the shooting shoulder to come forward.
Yeah.
And even before you shoot, you catch the ball and you turn into the basket, and the right shoulder, if you're right-handed, comes forward. And like Casey says, that's going to turn your feet a little bit too.
Ham Marcus says, how to become a good three-point shooter. You got to work on it. It all comes down to practice. Yeah. And again, it comes down to the 3 pillars of practice that we just talked about. Alexa Vuchitz is saying, any tips on how to impress a new coach? I was a 6th man, but I want to start and play consistently, but I won't start practicing with the team immediately. Well, I would say first, go check out our videos called How to Make the Team.
Exactly right.
We have several of those, and we think those are the best way to impress coaches.
Right. Well, they want to know that you can play, certainly, but elements that really make you stand out, you can find in those videos, How to Make the Team.
Shay Hastings is asking how to make contested shots. Number one, contested shots are typically not good shots. It means you have not done the work to get a good open look. So we are not big proponents of taking those shots, because as soon as you add in somebody contesting your shot, the percentage for that going in is going to be at least halved. And we talk about that every once in a while. But but you really should do more work to get open shots by doing moving without the ball, and then also executing dribble attacks and things to create space.
Yeah, creating space is the key. It's very seldom in a basketball game, unless somebody falls down or misses assignment, that you get an absolute clean look. There were a couple of them in the Oklahoma Warrior game the other evening where they didn't get to the guy at all, and he had an absolute clean look. Whether it's Thompson or Curry or one of the two guys from Oklahoma, they make those shots.
Your goal should be to take open shots.
Take open shots.
If you're taking contested shots, I mean, what are you hoping to achieve there?
Yeah.
Your picture taken and put it in the newspaper. Are you trying to get style points? Those don't go up on the scoreboard. You want to take open shots because your chance or the percentage for them to go in is much higher.
Yeah, and the truth of it is that if it is a contested shot, it's not an open shot, and so maybe you need to give the ball up to somebody else. Maybe you need to put it on the floor and create some space to get a better look at the basket. But contested shots are not good shots to try and shoot.
Okay, Ollie is asking, should I practice to shoot contested shots? I think it's good to practice any kind of game situation.
Sure.
But you don't want to spend, an hour working on that and then 20 minutes working on just your regular shooting and your free throws. That doesn't make any sense. It's good to practice contact. So if you're going in for a layup, have somebody bump you and give you a shove and work on your finish.
Yeah.
But, like we said, that should not be overemphasized.
Exactly right.
Let's see here. Alexander Obradovich says, how does my acceleration increase? That's working on your explosiveness and your conditioning in terms of athleticism. So you need to go check out our video on the vertical jump stuff and the vertical jump handbook, and that will really help you in being more explosive and having that faster first step.
It's actually pointed toward vertical jump, but whenever you take a look at the program, you can see that it's also about explosion, muscle explosion of the core muscles and the lower body. And so whether you're jumping or just being very quick off the start or whatnot, those things are really important and can be developed by using that vertical jump program.
Yep. Keep sending your questions in, you guys, and let us know where you're from. We like to know where you guys are from.
We want to know where you're from.
The reviews dude says, I already follow Pure Sweat Basketball. Good job.
Good.
Those guys are good guys.
They are awesome.
Let's see here. I guess Alexander was asking, how do you make your first step quicker? One of the things that we really emphasize is that you guys go check out the video, the long 1-and-1.
Yes.
And we talk about a lot of the kind of specifics of how to have that quick first step that aren't necessarily all about developing the athleticism around it. And it's really about getting the proper footwork and getting your defender off balance and in recovery mode. And that long 1-and-1 is really a big deal.
It really is.
And then on top of that, check out the jab step videos, because I think that's a good repetitive drill to really work on too. And it will help you in testing your defender and making it look like you're going to do the long 1-and-1 and then pull it back.
You know what's interesting for me, and I hear you talking about the jab step and whatnot, we spend a lot of time with our students that are here over a longer period of time, working with them on jab step, rip and go, shot fake and go, and that kind of thing. But what we find out is that when they leave here, they don't really work on it.
Yeah.
And they go to play in a game, and they don't have those tools in their bag that they can use to attack the defender. And so it's very important that you have all the tools possible to help you be successful. Learning how to make an effective jab step is super important. And I see so many variations of it, and most of them aren't very good. And so people are not able to go by people, and so they scrap it. Okay, so you scrap something that is really important to help you beat them. And when we make that jab step, we're trying to move that defender to one side or the other. And then when we pull back, we want them to recover. And when they're recovering, that's when we attack them strong to that side. And so you have to understand what those things are about. But we aren't successful with those. because we don't spend enough time on them. And so you remember we talked about preparation earlier on shooting. We don't prepare on those fronts either, where we actually learn how to break a defender down.
And if you guys are concerned about anything, it should be footwork, because everything is built off of footwork.
It is.
Whether it's shooting, defense, passing, ball handling, all of that starts with your feet. And if you got some screwiness going on there, then that will flavor everything else with that screwiness. So work on the footwork. Jab step is a huge part of the footwork. Long 1-1, all footwork. So make sure you check that out. This one is from Ollie, who says, what if I can't keep a consistent shooting form / technique?
Well, you're not spending enough time on it.
Form shooting drill.
The form shooting drill is the essence, in our opinion. This is the essence of learning how to shoot. One of the things that we oftentimes do is we try to mimic other people, and sometimes we get part of what they're doing, sometimes we get it wrong. The thing that's really important is to find a source for you, like Shot Science, or maybe there are others as well, that teaches you how to execute the stroke.
The foundational elements.
Absolutely. And once you kind of have those down, then you start to practice those at a short distance. And the short distance can vary between 5 to 10 feet, depending on where you might be on the floor.
Start closer, it's always better.
Yeah, and as you begin to develop the muscle memory for that stroke, and it becomes more consistent, then you can back away a little bit further.
Progress back.
Backing away doesn't mean you go from 7 feet to 20 feet. I mean, that's not real, because that's when your shot mechanics begin to break down. And when they break down, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, take a step back each time. You master that closer, you take one step back, which is a foot to a foot and a half back, and work on that.
And you're trying to establish the stroke mechanics so they're automatic. You don't really have to think about them.
And so they don't degrade as you move back, too.
Yes.
Because you want your shot from 5 feet to be the same shot that you shoot at 25 feet.
Exactly.
And
25 feet?
Well, I mean, if you're really ambitious. And, here's the other thing, too, is that for you to have a consistent shot, you have to work on it consistently. And you have to have all of these training elements in place that all of these people that are great shooters have.
Yeah,
and
true.
Steph Curry, he does not just go out there and casually flip the ball around and just shoot it. I mean, he is going to work, and he is doing things diligently and purposefully. Everything that he is doing, there is a reason for it.
Right.
And so that's kind of the way that you need to approach it too. And that's why we think the 3 pillars of practice are kind of a really good framework for all that to fit into. So really try to figure that out. And also, you have to be your own best coach. You can't go in there and just shoot the shot and not analyze it and look at what you're doing. If you're missing it because you're hitting it off the front rim, there's a reason for that. And you should know how to fix it and why that's happening.
Yeah, and Casey brings up something I think is really important here too, and that is when you're developing your skills, particularly your shooting skills, video yourself. Have somebody else video you so you can see what it is that you are doing that is breaking down. We often do that when we have students here. If somebody is kind of struggling a little bit, we'll video them from behind, from in front, and from the sides, and we'll take them aside and say, okay, can you see what's happening here? And they can see it very clearly. Okay, instead of that, here's what you need to get done. And so videoing, I think, can really help you if you take and have somebody video from different angles, and then you study that. Well, gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. When I finish the shot, my fan finishes to the inside like this instead of right straight at the basket. That affects the accuracy of the shot. I didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah, and like I said, you have to be your own best coach. You should know why things are happening. If you're shooting a shot and you're hitting the front rim consistently and you keep doing it, that's on you, because you should identify, oh, that's a problem. How do I fix that? Why is it happening? And then fix it. Yeah. And so you need to be your coach, because even if you have somebody like my dad that is working with you once a week, that's an hour once a week. And if you think about it, you are with yourself 24 hours a day.
Right.
So figure out how to coach yourself.
Exactly right.
And then you can have these people that are like shooting coaches help you figure out, kind of on the more expert level what you're doing. But you need to be able to figure out what you're doing yourself too. Devin Blizzard asks, can a sprained ankle affect your shot? Yeah, I mean, any injury can affect any of your athletic endeavors.
Sure.
The reviews guy's asking, who do you guys have in tonight's Game 7? Warriors. We're from the Bay Area.
Absolutely, Warriors, yeah.
And they're playing, looks like they're starting to click a little bit too. And they're back at Oracle, which is always good. And we're going to be cheering for the Warriors. Yeah. Reviews Dude asks again, what kind of sneakers do you suggest for a shifty guard that plays outdoors? When it comes to shoes, we are not going to recommend anything to anybody, but we will give you these guidelines. And they are that you should not let the branding of shoes or brands of shoes affect your choice in what you choose. You should really put on shoes and try them out, see how they feel, maybe check out reviews of people that have actually worn them and used them in playing games and stuff, not just people that say, oh, I like these because they look good. Try them on. I mean, that's really the thing. If they work for you, good. If they feel good on your feet, good. Everybody is different. Everybody has different feet. But if you buy into the marketing and think that if I buy these $300 LeBrons, that they're going to make you play like LeBron, good luck.
There are no points in those shoes, believe me.
That's what the brands want you to think.
Yeah.
But you got to be a little bit smarter than that. You can actually get great shoes for under $100.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you want to get the more expensive one, that's cool too. But you don't have to do that.
Well, the other thing is, remember this, is that those shoes, like a lot of other things that we have in our society, they're only built for a certain length of time, and they break down rather quickly.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we talk about, and we don't have to get deeply into this, but it's that your shoes probably break down in 3 months or less.
Right.
If you're playing consistently with them.
Right.
So you should probably refresh them every 3-ish months.
Exactly.
So if you're buying $300 shoes, that's going to be a real bummer when you have to get that second pair.
Right.
Let's see here. Ooh, we got a lot of questions. Batman Robin says, when I shoot threes fine, but when I get close to the ring, mid-range area, it always goes over the ring. Got to practice that.
Yeah, that's the essence of that one too, is that, and I hear this quite often, I shoot the threes really well, but when I get in the mid-range, I don't do so well. There was actually a guy, and he's still around basketball, coach on the high school, junior college, and the Division I program. And he actually took stats on his teams for a number of years, and what he found out was that those shots that were taken in the mid-range, because they didn't practice them very much, he was hitting those at about 28%, and yet their three balls they were hitting at 41% or somewhere in that range. And so what he decided was this, is that people just don't shoot the ball from that range very often, and so they don't have the touch, the feel for that distance. And so you have to spend time shooting that particular distance.
And some people claim that the mid-range shot is dead, which is hilarious.
Yes.
Because that is the furthest things from the truth. Watch Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Watch Kevin Durant. Those guys are killing it in the mid-range.
Yeah.
And there's many other players that do this as well. Steph and Clay, they're more of a 3-point range type of delivery. They can both hit mid-range as well.
Sure.
But if you watch Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, they thrive in that area.
Yeah.
And even like players like LeBron, he kind of thrives there as well. So if you practice that, you will have that shot.
Yeah.
It's the fact that there's such an emphasis on close shots, layups and dunks, and that deep shot, the 3-point shot, that's probably what people mostly practice.
Yeah.
But if you practice that mid-range, you will have that shot. And it's just as good a shot as anything. Let's see here. Navjit Sani says, why does the ball always come off my ring and or my pinky finger? That's because you're
on the release.
supinating.
On the release, what is happening is that your hand is probably turning inside, which is called supination. It turns inside, and you can see as I release, the only fingers that it could possibly come off are the last 2 or 3 fingers here. When you release the basketball, we teach everybody that the hand comes right straight through the basket and essentially comes off of these 2 fingers. Now, that's not to say that the third finger doesn't have a little contact from time to time, because it does. Some people have a longer third finger. But we want to have those fingers coming straight through the basket. There are a lot of great shots in that game the other night for players on both sides of the game. And I kind of take special notice of some of those things because it's something that I deal with all the time. And you could see that those hands shot from behind the shooter, they're coming straight through to the basket. And if they're coming off the other fingers, it's because you're either supinating or pronating the hand,
And-
both of which is going to be inaccurate.
And when you have the ball coming off of your shooting hand, let's see here, it should be coming off like that, where you have those 2 points of contact. So when you come through, your follow through is going to be just like that, and you finish directly to the rim. Those 2 points of contact are going to give you much more control over the ball. Instead of people, some people say to do the one finger release. Well, look at this. That thing is flying all over the place because there's only 1 point of contact. If you add in that second point of contact, it doesn't do that because you're adding another point where it is being supported and controlled. So if you're delivering the ball like that, the ball is going to be kind of more precise. Yeah. If you're doing the one finger thing and you're off by just like a little millimeter, then that could be the difference between making and missing the shot.
Right. Well, seeing Casey with that ball up in front of him like that reminded me of something that we hear fairly often. That is to try and get your fingers on the seams.
Seams, yeah.
And you know what? If you're taking time to try and rotate the basketball to get your fingers on the seam, you're going to be late getting rid of that basketball. The ball is round. Every basketball that's played at a competitive level has nice dimpling on it and allows you to get control of the ball really well. Having on the seams, we don't believe that that's necessary.
It's a habitual thing, and the thing about it too is that we work with people, and I've taught myself to shoot, and my brothers and all of us, we've taught ourselves to shoot without having to do that, and we shoot just fine. So that should tell you
it's quicker because you don't have time to massage the ball to get your fingers on the seams.
And that should tell you that it's not a necessary thing to do. And one of our huge teaching points as well is that if you want to have a consistent shot, you need to have an efficient shot. And efficiency means that you are eliminating all the non-essential variables. So things like trying to find the seams or dipping the ball around or shot or whatever it is, you're getting rid of all that, because if you're trying to repeat the same motion and technique, you will be in much better shape. True. You will be more consistent. You'll mean more shots will go in the basket. Yeah. Okay. I mean, there are players in the NBA that have been 5'8" and shorter. So yes, people that are that tall can make it to the NBA. But what else are they bringing to the floor other than their height? If you look at somebody like Muggsy Bogues, that guy was 5'3", but he was an incredible elite top-level point guard.
And he could dunk it.
Well,
easily.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, but that comes down to his athleticism and stuff. Mm-hmm. Spud Webb, same thing.
Yes.
Nate Robinson, same thing. These are all people that have other things that they're bringing to the table other than their height. You can be 7 feet tall and not be in the NBA.
Yeah.
So you could definitely be 5'8" and not be in the NBA. So height is one of those things that we try to just get people off of because you have no control over it. I'm 6'2". Sure, it would be great if in my playing years I was 6'8", but that didn't happen, and I have no control over it. Yeah. I can control my shooting and how well I can shoot. I can control my ball handling. I can control my defense. I can control my rebounding. So those are things that I could focus on. Height, might as well just get over it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The reviews he was asking how to play better against very physical defenders. If people are crowding you,
you go to the basket on them.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things that we tell everybody we work with is that if they crowd you, it's time for you to go to the basket. There's no fake necessary. It's just you go right away. And when you go, you want to try and take a corner off of them, meaning that you want to have contact with them as you go. If they don't occupy that position right in front of your body and have it set when there's contact, the foul is going to be on them. So you put them in immediate jeopardy by attacking and trying to get that control. The thing that's really important on that is to make sure you take that long step and that long dribble because that really puts them in jeopardy. They don't have time to get in front of you.
And I want to go back quickly to that question about height in the NBA. We don't want to discourage you from having those goals or those dreams. That is awesome. We're just trying to tell you to forget about your height. You have no control over it. And really, we think it's also important to set incremental, achievable goals.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying my goal is to get to the NBA, that is a long road, and it is something where, if that's the one thing you're holding out for, you can get discouraged really fast. So set your goal as, I'm going to make my school team. And then after that, I'm going to make my traveling team. Or after that, I'm going to make this college team. And after that, I'm going to make this, set these incremental goals.
That are achievable.
Yeah. Let's see here. Cole Whipple is asking, how do I pull off a crossover like Curry or Clay? You have to work on the skill.
You learn how to do it, and then you practice on that until you become very effective.
Check out our video on the crossover.
Yeah.
And we talk about all those foundational elements.
Yeah.
And then practice it using the 3 pillars.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is a problem for the crossover and other change of direction dribbles is we allow the ball to do 2 things that put us in jeopardy. Number one, the dribble is too high. And being too high means it takes longer to get from one side of your body to the other. The other item is that we allow the stroke to be too long. We reach too far to the side, and that takes and gives the defense still an opportunity to get a hand on it.
Or for something to go wrong, because that's when all the variables happen too.
Right, and the thing that is really important is to keep that stroke short and quick. And so it shouldn't be very far outside of your body when you cross or flat back or scissor or whatever, and you pick it up quickly on the other side. And one of the things that I noticed that a lot of young players do is they'll get the stroke down on the where they're starting this move, and it goes, let's say it goes through the legs, but when they pick it up on the other side, it ends up with the ball elevating up like almost a shoulder height. That just takes the total heart out of that move. It needs to be low to low, and it needs to be short stroke and quick, explosive.
Yeah. I mean, the key to it really, too, is selling the move.
Yes.
So you sell that you're going one direction and then go the other direction.
Yeah. And the thing that comes to mind when I say that is I know that some of you will. Allen Iverson used a long stroke. He did.
But he
used a high stroke, too.
He developed it, too.
Well, yeah, and he was so explosive that he could get away with that.
Here's one of the things that we like to reinforce, too, is that you guys will see NBA players or WNBA players or whoever that are doing these things that maybe are contrary to what we say or what you see or whatever. And the fact of the matter is that they have spent countless hours overcoming the inherent problems of the way that they are executing it to make it actually work for them.
Exactly.
So what that means is that Allen Iverson, yes, he developed that really wide, long, tall crossover, but he spent so much time working at it that he made it work for him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't that doesn't mean that it's the best way to get through all that stuff. And he probably had to spend a lot more time getting it to that point. Yeah. We're trying to give you guys the tools that you can use so that you can get to those elite levels faster. Yeah. And without as much pain to get there. Okay, this one's from Bonnie Kintu, who says, I make over half of my shots in training off the dribble and screens, but I can't make as many when I am still. Set shots, any tips? That sounds like a rhythm problem.
That's a rhythm problem, usually. If you take and go to our videos, you'll see that there is a video or two there regarding what we call catch and address. And on the catch and address, this is learning how to establish rhythm with your feet. A lot of people, when they are establishing rhythm, and sometimes without even realizing what they're doing, they catch the ball and they dip it down and bring it up. That's kind of a rhythm situation. But we take and teach everybody that we want them to establish that rhythm with their feet instead of dipping the ball. And, if you stop and think about it, we express our rhythm in our dancing. that's how we use our feet to express that rhythm. And so, and then the other rest of our body kind of gets involved in that. So we teach people that that's what they should do, is to utilize their feet. So check that out. And it's called,
I have no idea. I can't remember.
Reaching
Probably
back
footwork for shooting or something like that. But here's the thing about that too. Using your feet to generate the rhythm will help you get half of the work done before you even catch the ball or pick it up off the dribble. So it will be a faster, more efficient shot. If you have to do something like dipping the ball or something else, I don't even know what it would be, to generate rhythm, it will take time. And it would also expose the ball to the defender, which is not what you want to do.
Well,
and if you watched the game the other day, you saw Andre Iguodala strip it several times
off
just
the guys
because
who
of
were
that.
dipping it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we say step into the shot, get the footwork going. That is how you're going to generate rhythm.
Yeah.
And having just a set shot where you are stationary, you don't have any rhythm.
And rhythm is so important in shooting. You take a look at those great shooters like we've been watching recently on Oklahoma and even the other two teams in the Eastern Division. Those guys have got rhythm in their stroke, in their body when they shoot it. Okay.
Okay, we're going to lightning round a lot of this because we need to get through some of this. Seven Antoine, it says they are from Oregon. Awesome. Alexa says he or she is from...
Visic.
Is from Belgrade, Serbia.
All right, that's cool.
Let's see. Apple County 305 is from Apple County, Miami.
All right.
Let's see here. Young Steph says, when I play one-on-one against good players, I feel confident and I score different types of shots, step backs, contested layups, and pull-up jumpers. However, in a game, I struggle. Any tips?
You don't have confidence in yourself. In a game situation like that, where you're out there in front of God and everybody, you're afraid that you may fail at some particular part of the game, like shooting the basketball. When you're out playing with the guys, you don't worry about that so much. What you need to do is don't worry when you get in those game situations at all, because you're worried you may miss. Well, most everybody misses way more than they ever make. And so you've got to just take and get through that.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to get the three pillars of practice in place. Get the game experience, game speed, game intensity stuff going. Okay, let's see here. Man, there's a lot we haven't even gotten to. Let's just go to the bottom here and start there. Iman Muganza says, having a higher arc is more of a chance. I guess they're talking to somebody else. Let's see here. Batman Robin says, they're a baller from the Philippines. Awesome. We have a lot of friends there in the Philippines.
A lot of people in the Philippines who follow us.
Let's see here. James Mansell says, any tips on getting a more consistent free throw? I'm always good in practice, but in games, I always miss them. We do have tips on that. Usually when it comes down to making free throws in practice and missing in games, it comes down to how you practice your free throws.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we try to bring to light to people is that you can't just have your free throws be your warm-up drill when you get to the gym.
Yeah.
You have to practice your free throws in different levels of fatigue. So when you have been practicing for an hour, it's good to go in and do some free throws.
When you're fatigued.
Yeah. And so we like to tell people to take free throw breaks throughout their workouts and work on that, so that when you get into the fourth quarter of some important game, that you step out there and you've actually shot free throws when you were that tired and that gassed.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found over the years too is that oftentimes everybody has a routine when they go to the free throw line, which is cool. You're trying to relax, you're trying to establish some rhythm, and we really think that's good. The other thing that's real important is how you breathe. One of the things that we teach our players on the free throw line is to take a deep breath in and blow it all out, and then take a half breath and let's go. And along that same line, one of the things that I see happen a lot is people who think about that shot. They'll drop an extra dribble, and they'll think and look, and they're waiting, and then they go ahead and shoot it. They almost always miss. And so, and it seems like it's just predictable. I can be watching the game and I said, that guy's going to miss that shot because he's waited too long. And there is a certain thing there that get in your rhythm and let's go. You don't have to hurry it, but let's go.
All right. So let's get two questions real quickly, and then we're going to get out of here. Let's see here. Alexa's asking, is it helpful to play other sports to help your athleticism, soccer, tennis, etc.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
one of the things that is true about pretty much every sport is that footwork is extremely important and the foundation of everything. And so if you look at players that are the soccer players like Steve Nash or the I think didn't Hakeem Olajuwon play soccer or something like that too. Those guys have incredible footwork.
You know, Casey, as you're talking about that, one of the things that comes to my mind is I think that probably most basketball players, and maybe players in other sports as well, don't even think about their feet and how important it is on how you use them. And coaches understand that. Most of the points is that they will take and direct you. This is how you execute this. This is the footwork you use to make this happen effectively. And so learn the importance of footwork. That is a key in any game you play.
Yeah, and
except maybe for ping pong. Maybe ping pong.
I think that's probably important there, but
okay.
It's table tennis, by the way.
Okay.
But the thing about it too is that you can get your athleticism can be trumped by footwork if you put enough effort into developing it.
That's a great point, Casey.
So I mean that's why you can see. Here's a misconception though, is that like players like Steve Nash or Steph Curry or whoever are not athletic. But the fact of the matter is those guys are extremely athletic. Yes. Steve Nash, extremely athletic, but he's also going up against people that are even more freakishly athletic and stuff. So, his footwork is what really propelled him to the level of being one of the best ever that played.
Well, and Curry is another example of that too, just how he uses his feet.
Yeah, I mean he's extremely athletic, but he's also not jumping up 4 feet in the air and doing thundery dunks. No. He's not winning any speed any races against a whole bunch of these guys. I mean, he's not like a freak in terms of his athleticism, but he is very athletic.
And you watch how he uses his feet in traffic and is able to get around people just because of how he uses those feet.
Right. Okay. So I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thanks so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to your questions, it's not because we don't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. We will be back again. So make sure that you check us out. Typically, we are on Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And if you want to follow us on all of our other social media things, that is great because that's where you can really talk to us when we're not doing these. So follow us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and we do a lot of cool things on that as well, where we'll do behind the scenes things. We'll go to events and let you guys see that kind of stuff and talk to players and coaches and all that. So make sure you follow us on that. We are Shot Science on everything. And thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next week.